The People's Platform.
Good evening and welcome to the show. It's 2023 and Sri Lanka's political arena continues to be male dominated. Parliament is just another boys' club. Before the weekend, let's try and have a conversation around why women hate getting into politics, why men hate women in politics, and the adverse impact that this is having on the country's policy making and on the country's economy. To find out more on this, we've invited to our studio Shreen Saroor, women's rights advocate. Good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Sonali. Nice to be on the show.
And you. Shreen, let's first talk about the abysmal female representation in Parliament. I mean, this is a constant mantra that women keep talking about, saying, oh, you know, we've had Sirimao Bandaranaike over 60 years ago, but we still can't get enough women in Parliament. Why though? You know, so what are the structural barriers that women face? Why is politics such a bad word? Why is it disgusting almost for women to even think of getting into Sri Lankan politics?
So, politics itself is being in some form connected to various things. Mostly atrocities, violence, corruption. So there is a culture of politics that in Sri Lanka that we are faced with, and so therefore women hate entering politics. And I have been working with many women who really entered politics and got out of it also. And also the other thing is the masculine part of it, that the male dominant this whole political sphere has pushed women to a corner where until they get into the space that the men have created, it is very difficult. So women cannot do politics as they want to. The other factor is the money. Women generally in Sri Lanka, women don't hold on to a lot of resources. They don't have reserves. So it is also a problem for women to spend a lot of money and, you know, get in, because Sri Lankan politics is such that unless you have a lot of money, you can't get into politics, because we have large constituency. Our PR system in Sri Lanka, you need to get highest number of vote. So in that context, you need to spend a lot of money. So these three issues, one particularly with regard to money, masculinity, and the way the political the whole construct of politics is pushing women away. In fact, how many of us when we grow up as young girls would have preferred to be a politician than a teacher, doctor or nurse or a principal of a school or something like that? None of us would say that our ambition is to become a politician, because we have been brought up like that, we women, from our younger days, that politics is not a sphere that we need to dream of.
Now this issue, an attempt was made to rectify this issue at the local government level by bringing in a quota system. However, it too is riddled with its own issues. So let's talk about the positive impact that it's had, but what else is there to be rectified?
See, quota system came in 2018. That is the period where we were talking about transitional justice. Also a period where we were grappling with the post-war context. So a quota, a reservation, 25% reservation at the local level was very important, particularly in the north and the east, to construct the communities, the towns, the locality and all those things, because women have experienced war differently. So these war affected women experience, voices need to be heard when you reconstruct communities and areas, like the areas that got destroyed. So in that context, we thought this will be a good opportunity for affected women's in the area that I work, to bring affected women's voice to get amplified in the political processes. So we had a quota system in 2018 with 10% coming from the PR, the balance coming from first past the post system, so the combination of it. And in fact, the election law that time very specifically said minimum of 25%. We didn't even get minimum 25%, we got 23.8%. So good thing about the 25% quota is that we have about 2,000 women who have done local level politics. Even though it was tough for them, they were told that they came on a quota like it's pinna seat or a seat that we just gave it to you people. So they were shut and they couldn't do much of the work that they needed to do, but they fought back. They fought back very heavily. So therefore we have women who have somewhat good experience with regard to working with the communities as politician. At the same time, the failure part of it is that as usual, Sri Lankan political parties didn't identify women who would be able to make that change. So they waited till last minute. Some of the political parties never thought that they needed to put women, 25% women onto the nomination list. So that night, nomination night only, they ran and tried to identify people. So they brought in their neighbor, somebody known, some family relations and old people. And so in that context, those women couldn't perform because they were not the women who were already working at the community level. Because the political party feared these women who are empowered in the community, women who are already working within the community to come into politics, because they thought these women will graduate and go to parliament. So therefore they deliberately chose women who would listen to them. So therefore we see a failure, but then still I feel those 2,000 odd women who have got this experience is something that is very valid through the quota system.
Let's also talk a bit about the role of men in excluding women from political spaces. We see it happening continuously through successive governments. We see it happening in parliament.
Yeah, so recently also we watch violence against women in parliament in different forms, physical, verbal and all. It's highly problematic how politicians, Sri Lankan politicians, have been doing their politics, continuum. It's a history of the politics, the male dominant politics that we have been doing. So therefore we oftentimes see in parliament how the meager amount of women who have gone into parliament very courageously, and how much space they are being given. Even the debates, very rarely women are given. Even parties don't give women a chance to get up and speak on issues. There are lots of issues. Recently the government has been very rushingly passing lots of laws trying to pass, but we all ran to Supreme Court. But in parliament we rarely see women being given opportunities to talk. And also oftentimes you see the political party structure itself, it's a cult actually. You need to worship the leader, right? So we women are fighting against power. So mostly women, when you talk about violence against women or any form of other discrimination against women, what we are saying is it is a patriarchal power. It's a male dominant power that is making women secondary, women suffer and all those things. So we are fighting in various battles. So one of the things that we see as something that blocks women even scratching the surface of the political sphere is the political parties, the structures. Where the structures, if you take the structures, high command, executive committee, or the decision making committees with high power, does not allow women to be part of it. But you see at the local level, when a politician visits the area, he needs the woman in the party to mobilize everybody and come around. But they, like worker bees. But then at the top of it, they are the kings and you have to worship them. So this kind of a cult culture has created non-transparency. So nomination is not transparent. How they are spending the money is not, nobody is accountable in the political party structures, right? So the decisions that they make, even if their own political party women are getting attacked, the party leaders or the party men don't make a noise about it, right? Because I think they have got used to violence against women, because they must be seeing this in their house. They must be committing this in their houses and to their female counterparts. So therefore it's like eating rice for them. So they don't just think this as something that they have to counter. They are there in parliament to make legislature. Legislature should treat everybody equal. It is in our constitution. Article 12 of the constitution talks about fundamental rights. If they themselves are not following the constitution and the laws in the country, it's highly problematic. And talking about the laws in Sri Lanka, there are sharp discriminatory laws. It discriminates women very badly. Still we are to reform these laws. These are also partly the reason how we women are looking at the political culture in this country, because the political parties are part of that political culture, right? They really want to oppress women, and therefore it is obvious that they don't allow women to be equal.
So it's a perpetuating of the violence and the violence against women and the suppression of women and the normalizing of violence against women.
Yeah,
at every level. Does this not have its roots in our education or lack thereof, in gender stereotyping, where the girl child is told to just be seen and not heard, to be soft and not hard, to comply and not complain?
So it also starts, actually gender discrimination starts from birth. How we as a society we prefer male child, first child, right? Because we assume that the first child is the child that is going to look after the families, right? So obviously there is that preference, and thereafter the discrimination continues in various forms, not only education wise but also the peer pressure and the communities that we live in, our culture, our religion, right? Everything is against women. So in that, the way that we are practicing the Sri Lanka's education curriculum itself, if you open year 5 textbook, you see the mother cooking and the father sitting there and reading the newspaper, the son going to shop and the daughter helping the mother to cook. So generally we have these gender specific roles normalized, and it comes through our education system. The other thing, in Sri Lanka we don't have civic education properly, so lots of the men who are in politics don't even know why women have to be part of democracy. I mean, women are registered, 52% of voter population are women, right? So you have a democracy where out of the 225 parliament members, only 12 of them are women. And my question is it a democracy? Because it's not a representative politics. Usually they say we are sending representatives to parliament. So if women are not represented, is it a democracy? There is a huge question. So the men, our men don't understand why we as women have to be part of the electoral politics, because we as women have different needs and different way of thinking, and they have different way of thinking, because this is all created by the way that we are bringing up boys and girls, right? So that's why it's very important. Like, I know lots of parliamentarians are making a lot of noise about these days about violence against children, girl children. Now how is it happening? This is primarily because we have a flawed education system, right? We have a flawed political structure, right? We have flawed economic structure. That's how we came down so drastically last 2 years. Even though the corruption started for a long time, we came down because of the mismanagement. And we women have been managing homes so well. Even during the economic crisis, it was women who were managing the homes, right? So this is why it's very important that women's role and women's way of experience on all these things need to be shared, and starting from the school education, that we have to reform our system.
When speaking of the abysmal representation of women in parliament, we also need to focus on the fact that we have no Tamil speaking women in parliament. I mean, how insane is that?
So that's why I told the culture and the religion is also being weaponized against us getting into public sphere. So last parliament election, we in the North and the East started a campaign called at least one vote for a woman.
Okay.
Right, out of the 3 preferential this thing, we said at least one vote for the woman. So in that context, we were thinking that there will be women elected, and also like there were lots of like women who came forward from starting from the nomination time, right? Some of them worked with me also, but the thing is how the political parties push them out, or how they wanted them to be on a bonus seat or something like that, right? So they were also fearing these women because they are very bold. They would start challenging the leadership. They would start challenging the divided politics that we are all doing, because we women are oftentimes united on various issues. So therefore they were pushing them from the selection process itself. They were pushed out. And then when come to election, the women were so scared to get into electoral politics, because in the Muslim community the ulemas and all started saying that women shouldn't be in politics, and these women who are coming forward are not Islamic and all those things. In the Hindu community there was lot of, in the north and the east, women who wanted to get into politics. There were a lot of online attack on these women, right? Character assassination. So it was very difficult for us to even push good candidates, but there were lots of women who contested. But then how sometimes elections are stolen, seats are stolen, and how they prioritize their own preferred men to be on the seats. So we didn't get much. So therefore that we don't have Tamil speaking politician in the parliament. But I feel last year Aragalaya and the questions the younger people brought forward has changed that culture to a certain extent. And if at all the parliament election happen next year, we expect more women to contest, and there are now women who are very popular because of the last year's Aragalaya, women who have come forward to speak up, to talk about corruption in the country, non-accountability, various forms of oppressive measures that the state and the men are bringing in. All those things have been questioned. Ethnic and other issues that problems that we have been also questioned during the Aragalaya time. So I feel that there is space for Tamil speaking women to come forward, and hopefully next election we might have more women.
And we are talking about qualified, capable, empathetic women to join politics, not just women who don't care, or because in parliament we see men who are incompetent, who don't care about the public, and we see this before our eyes. So when it comes to the education system, more women finish schooling, more women are in educational institutes in terms of tertiary education. So there is a big disconnect between the proportion of educated women who actually seek political office also. So we are asking for these educated, capable, competent, knowledgeable women to, as of right, have safe spaces where they can contest.
So this problem persists everywhere, not only in politics. There are a lot of educated women who don't come to the front line, irrespective of the qualification, how smart they are, how much they perform and all. There is always glass ceiling. Invisible glass ceiling for you to penetrate, right? Now very good example is election commission, right? That is part of electoral structure. It has to set an example. So if we take the commissioners and assistant commissioners in election commission, and these are topmost Sri Lanka's government officers, we have only 3 women as assistant commissioner, not even commissioners or deputy. I'm not talking about member of commission, but I'm talking about the structure. So likewise, law college, we have about 60% of the women who are passing, students who are passing out are women, but we rarely see those women as judges and criminal lawyers arguing in courtrooms and all. It took such a long time for us to have a appeal court judge and the Supreme Court judges and all. So politics also like that, but we have not actually broken that enough. That I completely buy into. The other thing is also it takes time for women to get into politics, because it's a huge space, in the sense very corrupt, abused, violent space. So when women get into, if we don't give the support that they need, and then they really get into do the politics like the men. They become the mirror image of the same politics as how men are doing. So this conversation I had with Madam Chandrika Bandaranaike, at some point women's groups had this discussion. She was part of various left movement and all, how she went into politics and how she changed and became part of that political culture. So yes, I agree, education is important, qualification is important, but women can also go without much education and qualification, but we women have specific qualities, right? Those qualities have to be preserved. In order to preserve that, we have to create that space where we can mentor, we can support, we can hug them, we can hold on to their hand, so that they can do the politics the way that women do politics, not to get into male politics.
Absolutely. Very well said, Shreen. 2 years ago, Jacinda Ardern, New Zealand's former Prime Minister, the way she handled the COVID-19 crisis, exuding warmth, knowledge, courage, all of this as a female leader, and how much she was hailed as a role model for the rest of the world, how she cried when she felt emotional. These are beautiful to watch, because this is exactly what we need, right? This balance and this femininity, which is normal. Yeah. Let's also talk a bit about some of the solutions we can look at. What do you think the citizens, the voting public, need to be cognizant of going forward?
So generally, as we talked about this previously also, that women are seen as not vote pullers by the political party, because they think women will not bring in more votes, because they are not seen as political fit to do politics, right? So in that context, it has been the image that has been created by the communities and also the media, right? Media plays a huge role, showing women as political figure. See, your show is one good example, but very rarely I see intellectual shows or discussion about public affairs where women are being brought in to have conversation. It's always sometimes women's issues that we need to talk about. So economy, politics, law and order, national security, all these questions are women's questions as well. So women need to be in those public sphere in order for them to also to come into politics. The other thing is the general perception that from childhood onward we are being told that we shouldn't do politics because we are not fit to do politics, because politics is being seen as dangerous job, whereas I mean, if you take the most dangerous job that the women are doing right now is sending them to Middle Eastern countries, right? They are going alone. They are in locked up spaces and doing their work. So if they can do that, they can also do politics also in Sri Lanka. But the thing is, it's always there is that perception. And also then the culture that we talk about, that women have to be soft, brought up, protected. Women shouldn't be exposed to various tough spaces and all those things. The other thing is also the religion, right? So oftentimes if we take any religious structures in Sri Lanka or anywhere, it doesn't permit women to go on to top
the
position.
misinterpretation of religion.
Yes. and also like if you look at any religion, whether women are allowed to be leading the prayers or to preach and all those things. So that becomes a major bottleneck for many of the women to get convince the people, because the average people with this faith believe and all those things. So when you go and say I want to do politics, first thing that they will ask is go and get the blessing of the mullah or the ayar or the father or the Buddhist monk, right? Then it starts from there as well. Then your family, how does your family look at when you say you want to get into politics? I know my mom will say no, don't, please don't do it, because you will be vilified, you will be seen as bad character, and they will do all sorts of nasty things in social media and various platforms, because it has been done, and so many women who came courageously forward, their images have been tarnished. So then we have set a very bad example. Apart from that, Sri Lanka also lacks role models. Right, women role models who, say for example, economic crisis time, we are all talking about Bangladesh. So when I was studying, Bangladesh used to be South Asia's sick child, but now we are asking Bangladesh the money. Two Muslim women in the last 10 years have made Bangladesh progress so much, right? How they did their politics is a different thing, but they have made it, right? So in that context, we don't have good examples, role models, and I think we have to create. Right now in parliament there are good women parliamentarian. Previously also there are women parliamentarian, but oftentimes it is the smallest mistake that they make is being highlighted, not the good thing that they have been doing. Right, there have been quite a lot of good things that has been done by women. We used to have caucus in the women caucus in parliament. They have done remarkable work. Even on the ground level, these 2,000 odd women politicians at the local authority level, they are role models now. Instead of saying it has failed, let's figure it out how to promote their stories, success stories, and to say to the younger children, here we take women parliamentarians to the classrooms, right, and show them men and women need to look at women as women politicians as respectful people. So like that's very important.
We have 2 minutes on the show, and I'd like your views on two things. Firstly, what is the role of men in acting as allies in enabling safe spaces for women? And secondly, the importance of gender sensitivity programs at national level, at school level, at nursery level, at university level, at vocation centers, everywhere. Those two aspects.
So to start with, I think politicians in Sri Lanka need to undergo gender training. Sorry, I mean they have to learn from us, right? It lacks in every politician I have seen. They don't understand what we say, right? So then only we can reform the political parties. Otherwise we will have to find a women only political party. That will be also a problem, because we have to also make sure that popular political parties absorb enough women in decision making position and in various levels, right? Then in the school system we need to reform our curriculum very specifically, because our school curriculum is completely gender divided, right? It promotes men as what they are now: violent, corrupt, unempathetic, hard men, right? And it makes women soft as women are. That's why we are having this much of rape, child abuse and all those things in this country. We talk about beautiful Sri Lanka, beautiful culture, but within that we have a cancer.
Yeah.
The cancer is that you need to have a set of people to be abused. So we have created that culture as women as subordinates. So it's everywhere, not only in education system, in our law, and everything, in parliament and everywhere, every structure that you go through. And more recently we have been hitting a lot of sexual bribery cases. Everywhere we go, women are being asked sexual bribery. So with all these issues, we have to start, as you said, from a very younger day, that men and women have to be, young boys and girls need to be taught how to treat each other respectfully,
All right. Thank you very much for your perspectives, Shreen Saroor, women's rights advocate. Thank you for watching us. Have a safe weekend. Good night.